Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another cool and crisp Drink and a Wink info review here in Chicagoland. After last week, which we had some really cold weather, we had a couple of days respite, and we had like almost a 50-degree day a little while ago. Close to it, and now today, especially tonight, it looks like we're dropping down to, I know things are freezing out there. So I'm going to bring you another in my series that I'm calling, still don't really remember what I'm calling it, Blended Scorchorama. We're going to bring another one to you here. This series hasn't been going as quickly as I'd like, but I'm going to continue to doing it as we move along here, just because I wanted to feature Scotch whiskey and stuff like that, or blended Scotch whiskey. So far we've talked about the Dewar's 21, and we've talked about Monkey Shoulder. I'll probably come a little faster. I'm a little less busy this week than previous weeks, and I happen to be off tonight. So as we move into February, I was talking to some other musicians because I did have a gig yesterday. It's kind of funny for some working musicians. We usually kind of think of after the New Year's as there's a slowdown, and actually it seems like I'm lucky enough to have a semi-regular gig now back, or a gig. But this weekend, that semi-regular gig, my friend Jeannie, she's out in California because she's part of the Grammy chapter here in Chicago, and she's out there. So I'm off tonight. No one else called me for anything. So I'm going to drink some Scotch whiskey and talk about it. Today we're going to talk about a really interesting one. It's perfect for this kind of night. We're going to talk about, don't get put off by the name, I've talked about this a long time ago. It's been a while since I talked about McNair's Reek. Okay, it's a funny name, McNair's Reek. This is another blended malt, meaning this is the old school idea of a vatted malt, meaning this is only single malt Scotch whiskeys in there blended together. Okay, so there's no grain whiskey in this, blended malt. I think I've explained that enough so you get the concept of that. All right. Like I said, this is perfect because this is a pretty heavily peated blended Scotch. Okay, now look at the name, McNair's Reek, and actually I'm just going to leave that right there so you can keep on seeing it there. Okay, now McNair's is an interesting brand. Okay, I'm not going to say a company because it's not really a company. It's under ownership of the Distillers Corporation, DCL, which was formed, I think, in 2017. There's other reformed, I should say. I don't have all the information on that, but basically, a package deal kind of put this company together that is the master blender for also one of my favorites, Glen Alecky. His name is Billy Walker. Okay, Glen Alecky Distillery. Well, you get a real fancy limited edition independent bottling, or their very awesome core range, Glen Alecky 12. That's all single malt stuff. Its master blender is Billy Walker. So they put this company together around him that's now making a few different products. Glen Alecky falls under this brand. Why am I blanking? The flowery one that everyone likes. But why am I? How did I? My mind is blank. It'll come to me. I'll let it go. Because everyone likes it. Aberlour. Jeez, how did I forget that? Aberlour is under this brand. But Billy Walker, they decided to come up with a blended malt Scotch whiskey, and they decided to go with a very heavily peated style. So this is perfect for a cold night like tonight. I'll tell you a little more about it. So if you look up Glen Alecky's location on a map, you will find, or if you get to see pictures of the distillery, it looks like an awesome place to visit. And then down the road, just a little bit, I mean, I'm talking feet, or there, meters, you're going to find this warehouse that looks kind of like a rusty warehouse, all right? And that is where McNair's is located. So we talk about McNair's Reek, and we're talking about it being a vatted malt. We can pretty much guarantee that some of it is Glenallachie single malt. So there could be, for instance, I'm going to show you the 12-year-old from McNair. There could be some of this Glenallachie 12 in there. Okay, could be some Aberlour since it's owned, but there's this peat element in there, and I'll talk about that in a second. We're not 100% sure on that. So when this first came out, they put out a small batch, and then they put out a 12, and I think there was a 21. Might be wrong on that. Now what they have is the small batch, which I am going to taste for you, is now gone. And now it goes 10, 12, and I think 21. Okay, maybe it's just now the company's been around long enough that, well, it wouldn't be 10 years, but some case they just, for some reason, they dropped the small batch. Okay, which is always good because small batch, it's not a. I understand the term on bourbons because we're not quite so concerned about age on the bourbon. And it's really a meaningless term anyway. Small batch just means that you're not, that kind of differentiate, but a small batch can mean anything. It could be hundreds of barrels and you can still call it a small batch. So I didn't really like that classification, but they have changed that. But here's the other thing. You can see here, this first bottling in this box, it has a picture of, I can't remember what this guy's name was, Harvey McNair, okay? And the story goes that he was having a wonderful dram near the Glenallachie distillery way back when he looked, well, when people looked like that. And then there was a fire in the storage house or the still house or something, and it gave this smoky flavor to the Glenallachie. And thus, the concept for McNair's Reek was born. Okay? I think a couple of issues here is with this is that Lumreek is a strange phrase to us. Why do I want to dream Lumreek? The word reek here in the United States, I think, kind of throws us off guard. I know in the last time I reviewed this, I talked about it, and a couple of people were laughing at the name. This is coming from, and I'm not a great Gaelic expert by any means, but the saying means, or the saying long, okay, L-A-M-G, may your Lumreek is kind of a wish for you to prosper. It's basically saying long may your fire, lum is, like a fireplace, long may your fireplace burn, okay, that kind of thing. Wish I had a fireplace here, but I don't. So I'll wish you that maybe long may your, I don't know, whatever, maybe your countertop grill, long may it burn. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Sorry, it wasn't a long day, but I just sat down. And I was like, I want to do another one. Maybe I should rest it up a little bit. So that's the name. That's the reason for this name. It is really a unique product that it's just a real high. You can get quality right out of it. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So I've told you that they've eliminated this small batch, and that's what I'm going to taste it for you right now. They also repackaged it. I think this image was confusing for a lot of reasons. I think American markets, again, along with the name, they've kept the name, but now it looks more like a Scotch bottle. I think sometimes kind of snooty American exceptionalism makes people think that, oh, this must be something from America because our forefathers kind of look like this. That's kind of what my belief is. They've taken the image, his visage, off of this, off their product entirely. And like I said, now it goes 10, 12, 21. Let me first have the small batch. Okay, the small batch, bottled at 40. Both are bottled at 46%. Both are non-chill filtered and natural color. And on this bottle, it says the Glenallachie Distilleries Company Limited, Aberlour, in Aberlour. Okay, Same thing on this bottle. Like I said, these bottles have been around a while because they've changed the packaging a few years ago. So on the nose, what's interesting, on the nose, you get this peated variation right away. This is not for the faint of heart. This isn't for blended Scotch fans who like a little bit of a peat scent, like you get in Johnny Walker or Dewar's, which is even less. This is for a peated Scotch whiskey fan. This is heavy. On the nose, this is all the bit of smoke that a Laphroaig Caol Ila Lagavulin would have. We can see here in this glass, and that's the one reason why I use this old Bunnahabhain glass, you can see that this is a small batch, and that's the color. That's natural coloring. There's no coloring added to that. That's gorgeous. Okay, that's the way Scotch whiskey, young Scotch whiskey, is supposed to look. Okay, it's not supposed to look like this. I see some whiskeys. I was in Mariano's last night looking at some whiskeys, some big name brand whiskeys, and they're colored with like the legal limit. It looks like you're drinking Coca-Cola. I don't want to do that. And the taste, there's some fruitiness, honey, vanilla. The peat hits. It's got a nice mouthfeel. It's not thick and viscous, but it has a crispness. There's a weighty crispness there. There's a little bit of a beer note in there that maybe the yeast that they're using for this, or in one of the scotches that was blended into this, is bringing forth, giving it a little bit of a, dare I say, and I like when I say when this comes to me when I haven't had one in a while, but dare I say a little bit of a pale ale flavor to this. In the best way possible, I would say that there are hints here of the Jameson Pale Ale finished Irish whiskey. Okay, in the best way, which I like that one. I'm not a big Jameson fan, but that one of their kind of finished variations is really good, and that's in there. Like I said, the peat is big. It's there. Fruity, ripe fruits. Little bit of stone fruit, fig kind of flavor, but not overly. I do believe that this is also a blend of ex-bourbon barrel and some ex-sherry cask in there, though I'm not 100% sure on the small batch. Okay? Now I'm going to move over and have a little bit of water. I was laughing because I don't want to clean so many glasses, and this was... I had made a drink last night, and I just rinsed this out and just had a little water in there. So yeah, I don't normally drink water out of my Anchor Hocking measuring glass. Great measuring glass for cocktails, by the way. Just the old standard, this little Anchor Hocking one. It's perfect. All right, now let's go to the 12-year-old McNair's. Here we see, we smell a little bit. The age is evident right away. So a richer nose. This blend might also be using a little bit more of the sherry influence because I'm getting that. Again, I don't know. I know the 12-year now is bourbon cask, sherry cask, and wine cask. I don't know if that's the same kind of blend here on this one. Yeah, this is nice. It has a darker feel, more chocolate. The label says mocha, and I would agree with that. The peat is coming in on the nose, not as much as on the small batch one. That's just heavenly. Oh boy! So you can see I haven't small batch. I've almost drained this. I got this one later, and I got really lucky as when they were getting rid of this label and moving to the new label, I got this on one of those closeout bins or end of bin at a Binny's, end of bin at Binny's, and I got really lucky on that. So I got that for a really good price, almost the same price as just the small batch. What's interesting on this one is I don't, because I think of the age, which has mellowed it a little bit. It brings out some richness there that then is smoothing out the peat a little bit. Okay, I feel like that one is less peated than the small batch, and it's not. It's just the aging in the cask. This is, whew, I love this one. So here's the bad news. Bad news is, like I said, the small batch are perhaps the most affordable. Although I don't know how much the 10 is. There's many whiskeys that I would pass over this one if you're looking at blended malt Scotch. Okay, it is just really really good. If you're not a peated whiskey fan, don't bother with this. Actually, now I'm going to blend these two and see if that happens. Now I just re-blended a blended malt, so this is Scorchorama blended malt, courtesy of Reek and McNair's. It's really delicious. I gotta say, I would love. I love this 12 a whole lot. I don't know if it pops up again that I would buy another one, because I think I would actually buy the 10 one just to get something different. And B, this 12-year-old is delicious, and if you found it and wanted to try that, you would not be disappointed. Again, it's all single malt Scotch in there. It's really nice and peated. The other thing I wanted to note about both of these bottles, is that this peat, we've talked about this before too, but very generally, peat kind of falls into this camp of two sides. There's the more campfirey element, and like charcoal and smoked meat kind of flavors. Okay, but also like barbecue or burnt marshmallow. When you're doing a s'more over the fire, that is one flavor of peat, and we will find that even in whiskeys that are not from Islay. So like Highland Park, their peat is very much that, what I've just mentioned, that kind of campfire smoke. The other type is the more seaweed and has a different kind of feel, briny kind of flavor. And I was just making, I've been getting into cocktails, and I've been making some martinis using dirty martinis after our friends kind of made some, and I was like, oh wait, I remember, I like these. Christy and Casey made some really nice dirty martinis, and now I'm getting back into that. So I bought some, well, because of course that's what I do. I bought some imported, like just brine, so you can add, and I know that flavor now, that kind of briny flavor. That is not here. Okay, so that's the kind of two sides of peat that we would get. Like Kalila and Lafroig have that kind of seaweedy flavor. Well, I shouldn't even say that. I should say Kalila and maybe Lagavulin have that seaweedy flavor to me, and Ardbeg has more of the other side of it. And sometimes I'll have an Ardbeg and it's it. But that's the idea. When I'm drinking a peated whiskey, or now peated whiskey, I'm looking at, is this more on the campfire side, burnt marshmallow side, or is it more on the oceanside fire with lots of kind of sardine and think of it as a smoked chicken, or kind of the you grill up chicken, that's one flavor. You grill up fish, it's a different. That's the difference. This is definitely on the chicken side, although there's not a flavor of chicken here. Well, I am really getting out on over my oars here on these things about talking about peated whiskey. This is more campfire, let's put it that way. So, like I was saying, there's some bad news here. Again, I think because of the name, they've been having trouble, because this is very popular, and like I said, they wouldn't keep this around if it were having three different ages. If it wasn't popular in Scotland and in Europe. So it's around. McNair's also does a rum that I'd be fascinated about getting, and I just noticed that the rum is at Binny's right now, so I might actually check that out because that would be fascinating. However, right now I'm not finding it at, if you're in Illinois, Chicago area, I'm not finding it on the computer for at Binny's. Maybe because they had to close these out, they're a little afraid of doing it. Maybe again, the marketing of something called Reek is just scares off Americans. But Americans, we're tough, right? That's what I'm told. Don't let the word reek scare you off. Boy, let other things scare you. There's plenty to be scared about. A name called Reek is not one of them. So if you see definitely if you see the old packaging, look at that, okay? I would definitely recommend this. I'm going to give the small batch 8.2, and I'm going to give the 12-year-old I'm going to give it an 8.4. That's pretty high. And quite frankly, let's put it this way: I can tell, and I'm going to rate the 12 higher. I'd really be interested if I see the 10 somewhere, and the price hasn't gone astronomical with fear of tariffs. I might grab that 10 at some point, but I can highly recommend it. So we're going to wrap this up. I don't want to stay too long. McNair's Reek. This is again a blended malt with what's likely to be Glenallachie, okay, which I also highly recommend. It's single malt Scotch. Probably some Aberlour, maybe, who knows? We don't really know, and these companies really don't put out those bills because they're trying to create something unique. But they have to be using a peated whiskey from somewhere. They're not peating there, and Glenallachie doesn't do a peated whiskey, so they're having to source something else, at least one other party, and I can tell you that it's not. Something that has that more fishy kind of scent, like it doesn't taste like Kalila, and Kalila is in many of our favorite blended scotches. Black and Johnny Walker, there's some Kalila in there. Maybe, I don't know about Dewar's. The thing, and check this out if you just kind of want to know, is like when we're talking about blended scotch, it's really kind of interesting. We have to look at who are the parent companies of these different distillers and distilleries and or brands, and we have to see these parent companies. Who else do they own? If for instance, we saw a lot of the companies that are owned by Diageo experimenting with rum casks because they also own Bacardi. So rum casks are easier to come by if it's under your own brand portfolio, and that's how that comes together. It's the same thing with blended malt. So we look at the company that owns it, and if it's Glenallachie, well, then they wouldn't go out and get some other kind of thing. There's not going to be Speyburn in this or anything like that. They're going to use something that's under their other auspices. So it's going to look different. I might maybe put an image down there, and it might be a little hard to find. But if you are a blended malt fan, and you maybe don't want to go single malt Scotch crazy, this is also another good affordable way. Again, I don't know what the price is right now, but it's really kind of hard to get a 10-year-old blended Scotch. Sorry, 10-year-old single malt Scotch that's peated for under, let's say, $60. I would hope that the new 10-year, I know this was under that price tag, the small batch, when I first bought it. I think it was around 40. I would hope that the 10 will fall under that, the 10-year-old. So if you want to try something peated, but you're not wanting to spend 70 now, Ardbeg 10 is, I think, at 70. Lafroig 10 is getting close to that price tag, unfortunately, and it's only going to go up. So if you see McNair's Reek out on your shelf, looking at your single or your blended malt shelf, have at it. Long may your Reek, and then I think I'm going to go take a little bit of a nap here. So thanks a lot. I think the next one I'll kind of go with a more readily available one. I'm looking over here. you know what I might do? My next one for blended Scotch, I might go back to Dewar's, or I don't know. I might also pick up that Prohibition by Cutty Sark. I'll keep on saying that. If you're looking like all this stuff is too expensive, and you just want to get some single malt Scotch, you want to get some blended Scotch. I've turned it around every time I meant to say the other thing. You want to get some blended Scotch, and you want to maybe what I would say right now is the best value is. I'm not a big fan of Cutty Sark, just the regular one with the gold and blue label. No, gold and black label, okay, with the green bottle. Don't like that so much. But if you see Prohibition era out or Prohibition style Cutty Sark, that's going to be like, I will guarantee you that you won't be disappointed at how much you spent. You might not like it, but you're not going to come back to it and say, I spent 50, it's like 25 bucks. So if you're into that, you want to try something, or you've never had a Scotch before, you're only a bourbon and rye fan, check that one out. It's a really good entry point. So Cutty Sark. I don't have any of them around. I'm going to go see if maybe I can find it tomorrow and get a bottle. But I have other things to buy, so I don't know. I'm not sure. I have a lot of things on the docket and not as much work because I'm off on a Saturday night, and who knows how much the prices are going to go. For now, McNair's Reek. Check it out and enjoy. Long may your Reek live long and prosper.